Hey guys, if you like my content, hit those like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out. Thanks.
Hey guys, stick around after the video if you want to see some itemization stuff related to Mirana. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Esports Money, ZSM, Mac10, whatever you want to call me, and welcome to my guide to jungling Mirana in patch 7.06F. This is the post TI7 patch. The day that I'm recording this video on is August the 29th of 2017, but you might not see it until the 30th, depending on your time zone or when I get around to uploading it. So, jungling Mirana. Now, you're probably already thinking I'm an asshole for making this video, but Mirana's actually not that terrible of a jungler. The reason that jungling her is a bit funny or questionable is because of the fact that she's a pretty good laning hero and she's an incredibly good roamer. She's one of the best roamers in the game, and after watching Dendy's video, check out my commentary on that, after watching Dendy's replay, I really want to play around more with this hero, because the hero is one of those heroes like an Earth Spirit, where you can, or even a roaming Pudge, where you can say, I'm going to no lane, I'm just going to roam around and try to get hills or help out other lanes by trying to get kills, and she can be successful at doing this, or she can be unsuccessful at doing this, and if she is unsuccessful at doing this, it's not the end of the world. A Mirana that has a bad start as a roamer can transition into something more with the same skill build that you would use regardless. So, speaking of skill build, you're going to always get Sacred Arrow level 1, and the reason being is because the only thing you get by putting more points into Sacred Arrow is more base damage. So at level 5 it does additional base damage, but the damage scaling bonus doesn't increase, and the distance traveled doesn't increase, the cooldown doesn't decrease, and the mana cost doesn't change. So there's really not a lot of value in putting a bunch of points into Sacred Arrow. In fact, despite how awesome the ability is, despite how infamous it is as one of the coolest skill shots in Dota, it's really not an ability that gives you much. Now, another fun fact about the ability, if you probably have already noticed if you're watching this video, is that it instantly kills creeps regardless of the level of the ability. It does not work on Ancients, though. So it's very, very nice in the early game or in this sort of jungling thing that I'm doing here to instantly kill the largest creep in the camp. So overall skill build, you're going to get 1 point in your W at level 1, and then if you're in lane, you're going to go for the leap. And the reason being is because the leap is also kind of a value point. It gives you more every time you level it up, and it's much less of a straight up value point consideration than your W, your Sacred Arrow, but it's still a very good value point, and having 1 point in that plus phase boots, maybe a windlace, up to you, will still give you a massive amount of mobility, or at least enough mobility that people have to be able to kill you really, really quickly to pick you off, because you will have that boost of space ahead of them, and you'll also have bonus movement speed. Combine that with phase boots and a windlace, and you're very hard to kill. So the hero is a little bit slippery in that regard. But if you're in the jungle, you put your level 2 point into Starfall and your level 3 point also into Starfall. So at level 3, your 2-1-0 or 2-1-0-0 is what your build's going to look like. And the reason being is there's some situations where I like to use level 2 Starstorm even before I hit level 3. So the way Starstorm scales is 75 damage at level 1, and then every time you put a point into it, it increases the mana cost by 20 and increases the damage by 75. So at level 4, it's like 300 damage, and it has a mana cost of like 160, 100, 120, yeah, 160. So it's really, really, really good for flash farming, and it's what separates Mirana from heroes like Earth Spirit or Pudge. She kind of has a natural flash farming mechanism. Like Pudge has Rot, but until he has a few points in his passive, the magic damage hurts him significantly as well. So he can't just run into a creep wave and do this. Mirana is a ranged hero, and don't bless me, sorry. Don't underestimate her range, because she's actually got kind of a long range. When I was playing this hero and fooling around with the basic mechanics of her, I was very surprised at how far I could like shoot an arrow, not the skill, but to actually right-click a unit to aggro it. She's pretty safe. She outranges the trolls pretty thoroughly. She can safely cliff jungle. It's not like playing a Viper, who can also safely cliff jungle, but is a whole nother story. It's way more difficult than. So as far as your item build goes, you're going to get a Iron Talon and a couple of Clarities at the start, because you want to be able to do that arrow spam stuff. And you're going to get a bottle as soon as possible so that you can keep using your Sacred Arrow, and you're going to max your Starstorm or your Q by 7, and this will allow you to flash farm camps relatively easily. In this guide, I'm using as an example a Midas timing. So in this video, I think it was around 9:30 or 9:40 that I had my Midas in addition to the bottle and the Iron Talon. The best time I've had so far was in the mid 8 minutes range. But if you've been watching this video, I just missed a creep with the Sacred Arrow, or missed the creep I was trying to hit with the Sacred Arrow. I got one. But I'm not as good with this hero as I would like to be. It's not a hero that I play too much. It's a hero that I was basically learning the basic mechanics of, in terms of how they feel for me when I was making this guide. I've played this game for, I don't know, 13 years now, and I've probably played a dozen games of Mirana. She's just not, I don't play a lot of roaming heroes. I'd like to AFK farm. So, if you have good mechanics with this hero, I believe that you can get sub 8 minutes Midas, Bottle, and Iron Talon. And because the only item that you have for the build-up is, for the Midas, is the Gloves of Haste, or Oven Mitts, then you are now seeing this in terms of gold. So that would also be equivalent to having Phase Boots, and a Windlace, and potentially a Blightstone on top of it, and now you are a serious right-click threat. So when it comes down to talents for this hero, spell damage is usually preferable to attack speed because this is a hero that likes to get a Hurricane Pike. So you don't really care about attack speed because Hurricane Pike gives you max attack speed for 5 attacks anyway, so it doesn't matter if you have bonus attack speed. So get spell amplification. When it comes down to whether you want agility or whether you want the additional health, I saw Dendi get the additional health the other day. I think either choice is fine. Personally, I'm greedy, so I go for the health, or I go for the agility. But if you want to play a little bit more safe and get the health, then go for it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Okay, guys. So itemizing Mirana is a bit tricky at times because Mirana can feel a bit all-in-y, kind of like Ember Spirit can be. So Ember Spirit, for example, is a hero where you kind of either want to go all in on magic damage or you want to go all in on physical damage. Mirana seems that way at first glance, but really Mirana has the ability to do a massive amount of both. And this is because of her abilities and, well, I mean, it's just because of the way the hero works. So if you look at the +8 agility, +150 health, it's not going to separate you in too many different directions, and it's perfectly okay to go with either talent. When we get a little bit farther into it, when you talk about either spell amp or attack speed, Ethereal Blade is not an uncommon item, so spell amp helps that. It also helps her farming. Aghanim Scepter is a very common item. On Mirana, which basically gives her a free Starstorm every 8 seconds, if I remember correctly. 10 seconds now, so it was nerfed a bit back in the day. But every 10 seconds you get a free Starstorm, so that's more spell amp. That's spell amp that affects that. But the thing here is attack speed isn't as good because of the fact that Mirana typically likes to build a Hurricane Pike, as I mentioned in the guide. So you kind of want to go for the spell amp almost every time if you think you're going to have enough money for a Hurricane Pike. And even if you're not, if you're not going for right-click damage, then your only real purpose is to do magic damage. So you kind of just want the spell amp in almost every situation with this hero. In terms of the -4 second Sacred Arrow cooldown or the 50 damage, it really depends on what you're thinking about doing later. This is where the hero actually dives off down 2 paths. If you get the 50 damage, then you want the +100 leap attack speed, because then you're actually doing an offensive leap, which is really weird, and I mean, it's cool, but the play to me seems like getting the 2 multi-shot Sacred Arrows and then getting -4 second Sacred Arrow cooldown. So at level 25, if you have the Sacred Arrow talent, instead of sending one straight this way, it sends one here, and one here. And just like this triangular shape of 3 arrows coming out. And then you have a reduced cooldown on that, so you only have that scared me for a second. I was like, does that only have 12 seconds? No. You have 13 seconds as your cooldown instead of 17. So, pretty good item. Blink Dagger, also a very good item on the hero. But typically, I would say the way that I enjoy playing the hero the few times I have is I like to go for phase boots and then either into Diffusal Blade or Aghanims. And if I'm going for Diffusal Blade, it's because I'm planning on being a fighter and I want to end the game early. If I'm getting Aghanim Scepter, it's because I want to take the game later and get super farmed and use the free Starstorm to help me farm. And you're saying, but what if you're a roamer or you're playing some kind of support hero? Or I'm a greedy bastard that just farms all game, so this is what I do. But if you're going to be a roaming hero, then the bottle needs to be very close to the top of that list, and a Blink Dagger needs to be close to the top of that list. And, well, if you're just roaming all game and you're not ever going to take time out to use Starstorm, then that's probably all that's going to be on your list because you won't have any money. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.